got all this stuff, and you got to put all this stuff somewhere. So you get a cabinet to put all this stuff together, so it stays together and it's not trashed around the floor, right? But you're still tired of sitting on the floor, so you want to do is go get a sofa. When you get a sofa, you're like, you know what? I don't want to gross you out, but I put my feet up on the, on a table or something. So I need a little table with little snacks and Kleenex and remote control. So what happens is the sofa's not good enough by itself. I need a little side table. All of a sudden, I got a side table, I got a sofa, I got a TV with a stand and a cabinet with DVDs and DVD player, game player, a cable network and cables and all kinds of stuff. Well, that's not going to fit in my closet. So I need a room to put the TV, the electronics, the cabinet, and the table, all because I got what? Free TV. Do you see how easy it is? Do you see how easy it is for us to go down the rabbit hole? This is the problem. You buy a boat. To justify having the boat, you got to go on the boat. Well, what happens when you go on the boat? Usually when do people have time to use their boat? It's the weekend. So what do? You start missing church. What? Because I got a boat and I got to justify the purchase of the boat. We start doing these things and it affects our spiritual well-being. And then we wonder why when people challenge us. How dare they? Because we're so caught into it we can't even see it. In this life, I don't know if you can make that out, but that poor donkey cannot handle anything else. That poor donkey doesn't live in that town. He's just a passing through. But he's got so much stuff that he's planted on the ground. The cart is tipped over. And the question is, are you the poor donkey? Or are you the pilgrim traveling light with just the essentials? And you're sending your money ahead and you're investing in heaven. Or are you like this poor donkey thinking you're going to try to get through town with a 2-ton truckload of stuff that's your stuff? That's the problem, guys. We think we can do this and we're not weighed down. You are weighed down. And God is saying, this is robbing you of joy. Robbing you of contentment. It is stealing you away from the person that you can be for God. Treasure key 4. Guys, we're going to finish quarter after today, so bear with me here. Treasure key 4. I should live not for the dot, but for the line. The line is eternity in heaven. The dot is for here and now. We've been talking about this in a way. Kind of hinted about it last week, but the dot is, if you're living for here and now, you're living for the dot. You're living for the moment and you're missing the eternity with possibly God or not with God. Don't live for the dot. Live for the line. If we're living here, our lives here and now, we've forgotten the incredible reception God has for us. Just read John 14. I memorized it as a kid. Jesus is going on ahead and He is preparing a place in His mansion for you. That's our destination. That's our home. Don't think this world is your home. You're just passing through, guys. You're a pilgrim on a pilgrimage to heaven. Don't live this life as if destination you've arrived. Because we have not if we are a disciple of Jesus. But our culture is the culture of the dot, right? You see this nice purple Barney dinosaur? Who can finish this sentence? He who has the most toys wins. That's what our culture believes, right? He who has the most toys wins, right? Have you heard that expression? No. Even a lot of us are immigrants. Have you heard that? He who has the most toys wins, right? And sometimes you'll see it on a bumper saying, guaranteed someone's going to see it this week somewhere. The question we're saying with this, do we really believe this? Are we really saying the person with the most purple dinosaurs is the winner? Really, that's what we're saying. The person with the most toys wins, right? Yeah, I'm driving the car. I got better toys than you. I have more toys. You're saying the person with the most purple dinosaurs is the winner. That's what we're saying in our culture. When we live for the dot, we're saying the person with the most purple dinosaurs is the winner. We're captivated by clutter. We are under the tyranny of possessions. When we believe this, we're living for the dot and not the line. It's a sickness of our culture. In fact, PBS came out with a program called Affluenza. It is the bloated, sluggish, and unfulfilled feeling that results from efforts to keep up with the Joneses. Appendix of stress, overwork, waste, and indebtedness caused by dogged pursuit of the American dream or Canadian dream, it's the same dream, an unsustainable addiction to economic growth, or the fourth definite, a television program that could change your life if you watch. So you can go watch it on YouTube, but there's some stunning stats in this documentary. Affluenza is a real deal. It is a social phenomenon of the Western mindset. And it is a sickness that is killing people in the church. I've known people to leave, they'll argue whatever, but it's about money and possessions. For the most reason, people leave the church. I'm not willing to sacrifice my career and put God first because that's not my treasure. My career is, my job is, my position is. I've seen more people break up families and marriages over this affluenza. And they can justify, oh, the church didn't talk to me nice. That's just an excuse for some of those people. Affluenza. Americans shop 6 hours a week. Canadians comparable, and they spend 40 hours a week with their kids. 40 minutes, sorry. Correction, thank you. By age 20, you've seen 1 million commercials. 1 million commercials! Buy, need. You deserve. Get. You're not good enough. You need this. Get this, buy that, do this. We're not even talking info commercials. We are bombarded every time you open your smartphone with a commercial. 1 million commercials by the age 20. Hey, I'm over 40. That must mean 2 million. And then some. 90% of divorces, we talked, arguments about money played a prominent role. We are hurting ourselves because we are chasing after affluenza. And it is in the church. Does having the most toys really mean we win? The person with the most toys needs the biggest dumpster. Right? The person, look at this. This ain't even my house. The bell was fired up. I didn't take a picture of our house. This ain't my house. Okay, the person with the most toys is needs the biggest dumpster. Why? Because the junkyard is the graveyard of yesterday's treasure. The junkyard is the graveyard of yesterday's treasures. What happens when people die? People load up the dumpster and just throw the treasure. Because I really don't care or want my mom's doilies. Right? And dishes and a bunch of other stuff, right? Gone, baby, gone, right? The junkyard is the grave of yesterday's treasure. We got so much stuff that the storage industry is growing in North America because we can't even fit it in our 2,000 square feet homes. We need to rent extra space and store it somewhere else just because we like affluenza. But does great wealth and possession bring happiness? Some of us would argue it does. If you have it, you'll be happy. But because we don't have it, we're not happy. Well, let's look at some people who are extremely rich. We're not talking rich. We're talking extremely rich. Vanderbilt. The care of $200 million is enough to kill anyone. There is no pleasure in it. He would be a modern billionaire by many moons over. Like, he'd just be multi-billionaire today. In his time, 200 million. He's like, man, this is enough to kill a person. There's no pleasure in this. John D. Rockefeller. I've made many millions, but they have brought me no happiness. Andrew Carnegie. Millionaires seldom smile. Henry Ford. I was happier when doing a mechanic's job. No, but wealth and possessions make me happy. I need more and I'll be super happy. We can't even compare with these guys. Not even a tenth of what they made, you can't even compare with. And yet they say, doesn't make you happy. Well, they must be liars. Let's go to the Bible. Richest man in history. Guess who it was? King Solomon. In his peak, his wealth was worth 2.1 billion US dollars. Trillion. I don't even know. What is that? 1,000 billions? That's just crazy. Okay, his yearly tribute, and he was king for 40 years, was $64 billion because he got 25 tons of gold every year as tribute. Now, he's rich, right? Just a little bit, right? He could buy you lunch, brother. Look what he said, Ecclesiastes 5:10-12. Those who love money will never have enough. How meaningless to think that wealth brings true happiness! Exclamation mark in the Bible. Verse 11. The more you have, the more people come to help you spend it. So what good is wealth except perhaps to watch it slip through your fingers? Right? All of a sudden the relatives show up and the distant, hey, I'm your third removed cousin. You won the lottery. Give me something. Verse 12. People who work hard sleep well, whether they eat little or much. But the rich seldom get a good night's sleep. Who's speaking here? The richest man alive is speaking here. And he's saying, wealth does not bring true happiness. It's a fallacy. If you're sick and you're not getting better for a long time, you'd go to a doctor, right? Wouldn't you go to a doctor? You're getting sick, like it's just not, you're just naturally not overcoming it, right? You'd go to a doctor, right? And the doctor say, look, you need medicine. Would you take that medicine? You're not getting any better. So you go take that medicine, right? So if your sickness is selfishness, materialism, and greed, then don't you think you need a cure? Don't you think you need, do you guys believe that? If you're greedy, selfish, materialistic, don't you think you need a cure? Well, what is the cure? What is the cure to affluenza? How can we free ourselves from the tyranny of things? How do we cure our obsession with wealth and materialism? Treasure key 5. Giving is the only true antidote to materialism. It cures selfishness in all its forms, greed, and the really cool thing is it cures unhappiness. The more we give, the happier we are. The less we give, the more depressed we are. Imagine today, you decide you would be a great giver. So just imagine, for a moment here, you would be a great giver. What kind of person would you be? How would your marriage be? How would your relationships be? How would your state of mind be? How would you be filled with joy or depressed? If you were a great giver, what would you be like? I want you to imagine that for a moment. How would things be different? How would you be different? How many lives would you touch because you decided to be a great giver? Step 1 of the cure. You give to God first. It's a biblical principle in the Old and New Testament. You give to God first. You want to get cured of this? Give to God first. Leviticus 27:30 says, 1/10 of the produce of the land, whether grain from the fields or fruit from the trees, belongs to the Lord and must be set apart to Him as holy. What the people of God were called to do is they're saying the first of everything you make, whatever your source of income was to be set aside as holy to the Lord. They're to give a tenth. A tenth means 10%. A tithe means 10%. When you give 5% or you don't give from your gross, that's not a tenth from the first. It's a tenth from the after government deductions and all these other deductions. The people of God gave 10% of everything to God back. They gave their first and their best. 2 Corinthians 8:5 talks about it. Even the New Testament, they give first to the Lord. And some of us think, well, I give to the needy. I do World Vision, all that. Well, it says first to God, then the other special needs. Like what we're doing next Sunday, special missions. That's not part of your 10%. That's afterwards. There's a special needs in Nepal. That's not part of your first to the Lord. Those are different things. Those are needs, special requests. But the conviction of the people of God has always been, we give first to God and we give Him our best. We don't give God our leftover. You know what God's complaint with His people is? And let me see if this resonates true to some of us today. Malachi 3:8. Should people cheat God? Yet you've cheated me. But you ask, what do you mean? When did we ever cheat you, God? You cheated me of the tithes and offering due to me. Cheating God. Like, just think about that. Does anyone want to have that kind of conversation? I do not want God to call me out on the carpet for this one. What was God's complaint? God's people, chosen people, were robbing God. They were not great givers. They didn't give. They held it back. They didn't want to give, and they gave reasons and excuses. But are their reasons real? And are they being honest about it? Or, God, you know what? You really don't have a complaint here. You're just making, you know what? You're not being right God. You're not being a just God here. Really? God had a complaint with His people. His people were robbing Him because they weren't offering what was set apart as holy to Him. Now, some of us will say that's Old Testament, doesn't apply New Testament. Well, I beg to differ. And here's why I beg to differ. Because let me ask you this question. Did Jesus lower the bar with the New Covenant? Or He raised the bar with the New Covenant? What's that again? Did He lower it or did He raise it? Jesus raised the bar and everything. Why would He lower the standard? Think about it. You argue all you want, but you can't answer this question. Did Jesus raise the bar or lower the bar? One example, Old Testament, what was the bar? You committed adultery, the actual act of adultery was considered adultery. New standard, raise the bar. If you looked at a woman lustfully, you committed adultery. Is that lower or higher? So what is Jesus about? Is He about lowering the standard or higher? Man, you can't read the Sermon on the Mount and tell me He lowered the standard, because He raised the bar. And if you want a reference, Matthew 5, 27, 28, read it for yourself. Are we like Jesus when it comes to giving? Because when Jesus did, and why do we give? Is because He gave 100%. He emptied Himself. The Bible talks about He became poor so we could become rich. He emptied Himself completely. Are we being like Jesus? He became poor for our benefit. People have become poor for our benefit, but are we being like Jesus here? Here's the cool thing that we miss. There's always a blessing behind every challenge that God gives us. Let me say it again. There is always a blessing behind every challenge that God has given us. So my challenge, start tithing. If you're not tithing, start. Why not? Join Financial Peace. Talk to Shane and I. They'll help you to learn how to manage out of the 90% that you have. But start. Is the tithe the maximum? Is it the ceiling? Or is it the floor when it comes to giving? Say it again. It's the floor. But we struggle with that. A lot of people don't want to say that, because then that means, hey, am I doing this? It's the floor, guys. It's the starting point. It's where, you put, someone becomes a Christian, you're like, hey, let me put some training wheels on your little bicycle there so you learn how to ride. Start with the tithe. It's the training wheels. It's never the ceiling. This is the ceiling. It's the ceiling. Right? The widow was the ceiling. She gave everything. She is the example. When you give everything, you got nothing left. God is saying, He's throwing out the gauntlet. He's saying, test me in this. And this is still true today. Because I've known people who do this, and God is taking care of them. Yeah. But you've not done it, you don't know what it's like, and you don't trust God, because that's why you don't do it. I mean, we all have reasons why we don't do it, guys. And some of them are just, again, mismanagement, all these things. But here's the thing that you can do moving forward. Start tithing. But don't say, oh, that's all I give, that's the max. No, it's the starting point. Isabel and I are on track to do well more than a tithe this year. And my goal is to get to the 15, the 20, and the 30%. Why not? Why can't I? Live on less. It doesn't mean, oh, I'm gonna live in a hut or something. No. I'm going to maintain a certain healthy standard of living, but I want to give more by not doing the stupid things with my money. Why? Because I'm investing in heaven. I want my reward in heaven. In our culture, it's hard to give. And if you don't believe me, go to the children's classroom and go to the youngest class where the kids don't even know what teaching is, and just ask, they try to take the toy out of a kid's hand. We, by nature, are selfish. Because many of us hold on to that selfishness later on in life, we have a hard time. We do not give God what is set aside as holy for Him. We worship the unholy trinity of me, myself, and I, and not Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. This is hard, guys. But it's got to be said. Because if we're doing this, then you're like, amen, this is a good reminder. Thank you. Because I don't want this to rob my joy. Giving is rare, unfortunately. Even as I looked at the church giving, I'm like, wow. Some of us really got to repent in this area. Others, I think, are doing a tremendous job, and we got some excellent examples in the church. Some of us have really slid down. We used to be great givers, but we're not no longer. Rick Warren, who's heard of the book Purpose Driven Life? Man, that book sold so many copies. But check this out. This book still impacts people's lives. It's an amazing story. Rick Warren, he gave back 25 years. All the years that he worked in ministry, he gave back all the money that he ever made and got from the church back to the church when he started getting his royalties. And you know what he does? He was in Time Man 100 Top Guys, most influential people. You know what they said about him? He reversed ties. He gives 90% of his income. We say he's got so much income. Let me see you try to live off of 90% of your income, whatever that may be. He reversed ties. He lives off 10%. He gives 90% of it away. The guy who wrote the book, Randy Acorn, gets no royalties. This book has sold 500 to 1 million copies. And he's got other books that have sold well. He collects no royalties. He lives off minimum wage. And he gives everything he can to advance the church and ministries that honor God. Why? Because his home is not here. It's in heaven. He's building treasure there. And you can't argue against him to tell him, don't do this. Well, we say, if I had it, I would give it. Here's the truth. You wouldn't. If you had it, you wouldn't. Because some of you have been getting increases and your giving hasn't increased. Because I see, as the minister, I see where your spiritual giving is at. And over the years, some of us have gone worse and not better. And I know you got better income. That's true here, and it's true in the world. Statistically, the more we have, the less we give. Why is that? Even though many of us are givers, and I don't deny that. As a church, we are a giving church. Can I get an amen on that? The question begs, though, are we great givers? Are we just dutiful? Are we extraordinary givers? Are we trying to be extraordinary for God? Final challenge. Be extraordinary givers. 2 Corinthians 8:7. This is New Testament, guys. It's not Old Covenant, New Covenant. I want you to excel also in this gracious act of giving. He wasn't talking about time. He wasn't talking about talent. He wasn't talking about using your house. He was talking about financial giving. Paul was calling out the church in Corinthians and saying, you're not giving like the Macedonians. You need to excel in this giving. Are we excelling in our giving? Are we giving more? If not, why not? Again, start with the 10%. But go from there. Why not? Step it on faith. See what it's like to trust God. You need help in this? There's people to help you guys to do this, to get on track. But why not? Excel in giving. Money, time, energy, your heart. All of it should flow from this appreciation for what God has done for you. Because in the standard that Jesus gave it all, are we giving it all? Because when we do, amazing things happen. I can promise you that we will cure this pandemic of affluenza by giving first to God and excelling, being great givers. And let me tell you, I promise you this. God will do amazing things in your life, and through your life, many people will be impacted. The people in Nepal don't even know us, but they've been impacted. How amazing is that? God wants you to embrace the true treasure of a relationship with Him, true joy, and stop stealing the joy that He's planned for you guys. Now, I went over time, but this is important. Next Sunday, we're getting started. So I'll see you Sunday. Mike, if you could just close us out with the word of prayer and one announcement. Thank you.
Quick announcement. There are handouts at the back. These are very, very deep concepts and they need to be thought about, meditated. As you can tell, it's really kind of quiet. But as we study study this out, our hearts get in the right place, and it's pretty cool right now. Also, congregational meetings are in June. Every Wednesday we're going over the book, The Master Plan Evangelism. If you'd like to purchase the book, please talk to Sophia. It'd be awesome to study your quiet times, get some conviction on it. There is a master and he has a plan. Amen. Let's go to our God in prayer. Father, thank you so much that you have a plan for our lives, especially in our culture of excess. We all know, God, I mean, when we get caught up with our own desires, our own wants, we hurt ourselves, we hurt others around us. And Jesus is the example, and he had incredible joy. Help us to really get attached to his example. Inspired, Father, when we let go of this worldly stuff, whatever it is, or maybe it's an accomplishment or degree title or whatever, and we put you first, there is only true joy that comes in. Relationships are reconciled, there's healing, we're free. We're free, God, and we really want to experience that, and I think that it can only come through you. Setting an example and us getting attached to that through our personal study. Please be with us this week. Let this message not go to waste, but Father, we take the time throughout the week to study out and gain conviction on, because it's incredible what can happen when our hearts are aligned with the ultimate giver, that's you. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Beautiful the ashes, your love never ceases. God, you are strong. You are strong. In the waters on the outside.
All right, 6 each.